The city streets were alive with the hum of late-evening traffic, neon signs flickering like distant stars against the rain-slicked pavement. Mark Evans, a single father with worn shoes and calloused hands, was walking home with his young daughter clinging to his side. The city had always been unkind to him, but he had learned to navigate its rough edges for her sake. Tonight, however, would be different. Around the corner, a scene unfolded that would change everything. A moment where ordinary courage collided with extraordinary consequence. Three men were closing in on a woman, their laughter cruel and predatory, their intentions unmistakable. She was cornered, alone, and unaware that her life was about to intersect with a man whose world revolved not around wealth or power, but around love and survival. Before we continue, if you believe in courage, kindness, and second chances, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stories like this remind us that heroes often come from the most unexpected places. Mark's heart raced. He didn't pause to calculate the risk. Instinct took over. He saw the fear in the woman's eyes, the subtle way she shifted from side to side, looking for escape. That fear mirrored something he knew all too well, the helplessness of watching someone you care for face danger and being powerless to stop it. But he refused to stand by. With a surge of determination, he stepped forward, voice booming against the humid night air. "Leave her alone!" The men froze, turning toward him with mock amusement. Their eyes appraised him. A man who looked like he belonged to the shadows of the city, not its spotlight. He was just a janitor at a local diner, a father fighting to keep his daughter fed and clothed, a man whose hands were more accustomed to scrubbing floors than striking blows. Yet there was a fire in his gaze that made them hesitate. In the next few moments, chaos erupted. One man lunged, thinking the confrontation would be easy, but Mark moved with a strength and precision born from years of hardship, of lifting and carrying, of enduring pain for his child's survival. He dodged, blocked, and pushed back. Every motion was fueled by raw, primal instinct, the fierce protectiveness of a parent who refused to let harm touch someone under his care. Within seconds, the attackers stumbled, disoriented by the unanticipated resistance of a man they assumed would cower. The woman he protected barely moved, but her presence carried authority, subtle yet undeniable. She was not an ordinary passerby. Her dress, elegant yet understated, and the calm in her stance hinted at a life far removed from these rain-soaked streets. Mark sensed it without knowing her name, without understanding her story. His focus remained singular. Keep her safe, no matter the cost. The city seemed to hold its breath as he forced the men back until they finally scattered, swearing and glaring as they disappeared into the night. When the danger had passed, Mark turned to the woman expecting gratitude, relief, or at least acknowledgement. Instead, her eyes were calm, almost unreadable, and the first words out of her mouth struck him with quiet shock. "You should not have done that." There was no thank you, no soft sigh of relief, only a statement that carried the weight of authority, a challenge cloaked in formality. Mark blinked, taken aback. He had saved her, and yet her tone suggested judgment rather than appreciation. It was then he noticed the subtle details that betrayed her identity. The poised stance, the faint scent of expensive perfume, the quiet aura of power. She was Amelia Grant, CEO of Grant Innovations, one of the city's most influential figures. The woman whose name dominated headlines and whose decisions impacted thousands. And here she was, standing in a rain-drenched alley, untouched by the terror she had just faced, and yet scrutinizing him as if she were weighing the very essence of his character. Mark, exhausted and drenched in sweat and rain, simply shrugged. His life had taught him that deeds mattered more than recognition. "I couldn't let them hurt you," he said quietly, hoping the sincerity in his voice would bridge the gap between their worlds. She regarded him for a long moment, her eyes searching, analyzing, and finally, almost imperceptibly, softening. The encounter might have ended there, but Amelia's curiosity would not let it. The next day, she requested to meet him at her company headquarters, ostensibly to understand how he had reacted so quickly, how he had confronted danger without hesitation. Mark, humbled and wary, agreed. He had never walked through such gilded halls, never imagined standing in a space where glass and steel reflected ambition and power. And yet, the moment he did, he realized that courage was the same everywhere, whether in a rain-soaked alley or a gleaming boardroom. Inside, Amelia listened to him speak of his life. The long nights working multiple jobs to support his daughter, the loss of his wife to illness, the weight of responsibility that had aged him far beyond his years. He spoke not with complaint, but with quiet determination, a narrative of survival and love that required no embellishment. Amelia, who had spent her life negotiating deals, evaluating risks, and managing crises, found herself disarmed by the simplicity and authenticity of his story. For the first time, power and influence were irrelevant. What mattered was heart. Weeks passed, and Amelia remained intrigued by Mark's integrity and resilience. She proposed an opportunity that seemed unimaginable, a position within her philanthropic division, a role that would allow him to mentor young people facing adversity, to guide them with the same principles that had guided him through life's harshest trials. Mark, hesitant and self-effacing, struggled with disbelief. He was a single father, a man accustomed to survival, not accolades or corporate responsibility. But the opportunity was more than a job. It was a chance to expand the impact of his courage, to turn personal struggle into guidance for others. He accepted, not for wealth or recognition, but for the chance to make a difference beyond the confines of his own story. Slowly, Mark's life transformed. His daughter, Mia, flourished in the environment of stability and hope he could now provide. He became a mentor to countless youths, sharing not just skills but wisdom, showing them that bravery could be found in everyday acts and that integrity was more valuable than any title. Amelia observed quietly, learning as much from his humility as he learned from her resources and reach. The media eventually caught wind of the story. Headlines celebrated the single dad who had faced danger to protect a CEO, but Mark never sought attention. He did not consider himself a hero. He simply acted out of instinct and love, yet the impact was undeniable. His story inspired others, reminding the city that courage does not always come in uniforms, badges, or flashy titles. Sometimes it comes in the form of a weary father, willing to risk everything for someone's safety. Amelia and Mark's worlds, once disparate, began to merge in subtle, meaningful ways. She had come to value his insights, his judgment, and above all, his unyielding moral compass. The first words she had spoken that night, the judgmental, almost cold phrase, had evolved into a profound respect and admiration for a man who had no need to impress, no reason to perform, and yet had done the most extraordinary thing simply because it was right. Mark's transformation was quiet, but powerful. From janitor and struggling single dad, he became a guiding force in the lives of many, a testament to the principle that heroism is measured not by wealth or influence, but by choices made in the moment when courage is needed most. And Mia, who had watched her father face danger and act without hesitation, grew up understanding the true nature of bravery, empathy, and selflessness. The city, with all its chaos and indifference, had revealed a hidden truth, that integrity and courage could ripple outward, touching lives in ways that no one could predict. And Mark, who had once felt invisible, finally understood the profound impact one person could have, simply by standing up and acting. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Acts of bravery, kindness, and selflessness deserve to be remembered, and your support helps keep these stories alive. Before we end, please comment below and share. Would you have the courage to step in when someone is in danger, even if the world expects you to stay silent? Because sometimes the right choice is not the easy one, and the most extraordinary heroes are the ones who never seek to be seen.